Well, where do we start? I guess we can go ahead and start since this is 3 days after the game, 4 days after the game. Uh, the wounds are still fresh. Um, After I watched the film last night, um, it seemed to me like we were we were actually still in the game. Um, for the most part, we could have still came back. But we're gonna go ahead and start from the five good things that I've noticed that I can take from the game. And number one is Labonte and Gerald McCoy are not the problem. Um, Obviously, I do think having Chris Baker out did affect Gerald's ability to pass rush, even though Gerald was in the backfield a lot. Case Keenum was just making the most of his opportunities because either our linebackers just weren't on their guy or they weren't on the check down. And also, our DBs were playing so far off, like 3rd and 12, and Vernon Hargraves is backed up all the way past like it's 3rd and 18. I don't understand the logic of that. I don't understand how a first round talent cornerback is even doing things like that. I don't know if it's scheme. I mean, I know Mike Smith's scheme. They want to keep everything in front of them, read and react, things like that. But it just blows my mind. You don't even got to watch the coach's film. You could just see it right on the TV as the game was being played. The second thing I noticed, our running backs are just they. I don't know if we're just not opening holes for them. I mean, it looked like it on film that we had a couple open, but it just doesn't seem like Jacquizz is running as decisive as he was last year. Seems like he's more enticed to just run into the back of the player, making a couple guys miss here and there. And I also don't understand, like the whole week we heard, oh, Cutter loves Peyton Barber. Cutter loves Peyton Barber. I think he had like one snap the whole game. Um, but the good thing is, if we can squeeze past the Giants and get a win, it's on to the Patriots, and we will get Doug Martin back. Not saying that he's going to be 2015 Doug Martin, but anything's better than this. Um, the third thing I noticed that no offensive players were hurt. Cam Brate might have had a concussion, and he said that was one of the hardest hits. Actually, that was the hardest hit he ever had in the NFL. But man, this just seemed like a game to where it was like it almost felt like the Baltimore Ravens just snake bit. You come into the game with your starting cornerback out, and I don't even think that he was even on the injury report throughout the week prior. I might be wrong. I didn't see it though, and I usually check him pretty regularly. So Case Keenum must have known that, and he took full advantage of it, throwing Ryan Smith's way. But he threw Vernon Hargraves' way a lot too, and he gave up plenty of big plays. Um, but yeah, you starting middle linebackers out, and I guess the injury report now is Quan is probably not going to play against the Giants. Labonte is definitely out for weeks, maybe longer. So we're going to see a lot of Darius Glenn and Kendall Beckwith. That's scary, given the fact that the Giants have Sterling Shepard and Evan Ingram going to be flying up the middle and in the slot. And both of them can even go outside because they're they're pretty much wide receivers by how fast they run and things like that. So that's going to be scary. Swaggy Baker, he's back on the injury. He's full participation. Brent Grimes is full participation. Yep, but it's not looking good. So the fourth bad thing I noticed is I think we needed that punch in the mouth. There's no excuses, even if you do have players out. That means that the game plan's got to change. You can't play as if you would if you had your starters in, because the reason why they're starters is because they're that good. I mean, you can't expect Kendall to play like Quan Alexander. Even experience wise, that's not going to work. But we needed that punch in the mouth. We deserved it. Like every time we come off a big win, we get punched in the mouth, and it's good. That's good. Fourth thing I noticed the fifth thing is most of the injuries. Most of the injuries, I felt like the players could be back by this week, and that is the case. Losing Labonte is going to hurt. Um, Noah Spence's shoulder, this is scary. Um, Robert Ayers, he looks every bit of 31 or 32, however old he is. Jacque Smith is coming back. I'm kind of anxious to see how good he does. Now, he's been our most consistent edge rusher for the past 3 or 4 years when he's been healthy. I would like to see him and Noah Spence be our edge rushers for years to come, because obviously Robert Ayers is probably not going to be around next year. Also, we're wasting the prime years of Gerald McCoy. Swaggy Baker's, 30, going to be 31. Our defensive line is pretty much set up to where it's like a 1 or 2 year window where you can make it as deep in the playoffs as you can, hopefully get a Super Bowl, but that's about it. We need to start building up our defensive line and then start working our way back out, because Brent Grimes is going to be 32, 33. It doesn't matter. Once you get up in the 30s, anything past 31 or 32 for any player in the NFL, aside from Brent Grimes, is a it's pretty much 1 foot out the door, 1 foot on the field. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. Well, we're going to go ahead and start with the good things that I've seen, which I kind of already covered a little bit. But go a little more into detail on Vernon Hargreaves. He just doesn't look like he's trusting his eyes. It seems like he's late on a lot of his reads, or if he's just not confident. But I know the scheme puts him off ball. But you're a first-round cornerback, and you need your instincts to step in, no matter what the scheme tells you to do. That's what all pro players do. If an all-pro player, all he did was just listen to what the coach told him to do, then there's no point in having those instincts, those God-given talents that you have. The second thing I noticed, we got interior pressure even without Baker. We got killed on checkdowns, like I said earlier. Quan and Beckwith, they gave it all together. It wouldn't happen. The third down blues, like I previously mentioned. 3rd and 12, it seemed like we were just off the ball 14, 15 yards by the time it was thrown. I don't understand that. I don't know if they don't think that they can press. Maybe Ryan Smith can't. I feel like Vernon Hargreaves could. He does. He's not the fastest in the world, but he ran a 4.5. You can still press, knock somebody off their route, and catch up to him. Or maybe they're worried about their safety help. I don't know. It seemed to me if you got T.J. Ward and Chris Conti or whoever you want to rotate in and out, those guys are making good money, and you brought them back or you brought them in for good reason. You need to be trusting them. But yeah, the third down blues, man, it was crazy. I couldn't believe it. The fourth thing, Ali Marpet waited to have a bad game at the worst time. Being down, I think we were already down 20 points, and Marpet had another botched snap. Luckily, Winston was able to even pick it up and keep his eyes down the field. And also, luckily, the first time Cameron Brate had the smartness to come back to the ball. Like most players wouldn't. They would just be like, stupid quarterback, let it get picked, But he actually had the smarts to come back to the ball and save what would have been, the 4th interception? The 5th thing I noticed is Winston has to be the hero, man. I just don't understand this with all these weapons. With all these weapons, you still want to keep forcing it. When you go back and look at the film, Mike's triple covered, and there's just people one-on-one outside. Check down the flat. It's just stop going to Mike. Given Mike did have the ball in his hands, probably would have been a touchdown. But just from a professional standpoint, as a quarterback, you want to see your quarterback make the smarter decision. Whether or not your best wide receiver in the field can come down with that ball. You still want to see if O.J. Howard can use his 6'5" frame down in the red zone. Like, just get as close to the red zone. You don't have to take a shot at the end zone every time you're in the 20. It's just crazy to me because he used to keep his cool under adversity. And now it's like he wants to make one read and toss it to Mike in triple coverage, and I just don't understand it. I know Dirk's about sick and tired of it. But you know what? That just might be who he is. And you know what? If if you give me Jameis Winston over all the other backup quarterbacks in the league, or even some of the starters, I'd still take him, just because I know what the potential he has and I know what he can give us. Now, I'm not trying to say that he's gonna win us every game, because he's gonna lose us a lot of games. He's gonna have that gunslinger mentality. I'm just hoping that, like Ben Roethlisberger did later on in his career, he can figure out how to get that deep ball. He can start making better decisions, not being such a Brett Favre, more like a Big Ben. Now, Winston is hard to bring down like Big Ben. I do agree with that part. But let's talk about the Giants a little bit. So now the Giants are 0-3. They are really, really trying to come in to Tampa and at least show some type of fight to continue their season on. Um, but you know what? Their defense is still a force to be reckoned with. If their offense can figure it out, then I think they can put points up with the best of them. Now we supposedly have the firepower to do it. And honestly, if they have the game that I think they're gonna have against our depleted linebackers and our aging line, who knows what's gonna happen? They might have to put up 30 points on us, and we might have to put up 35 points. This might be the Jameis Winston shootout game, the game of weapons. It's gonna be interesting. I just hope we don't come into New England just limping and licking our wounds, because you already know, if you don't come in to New England feeling confident, then it's just gonna be a long day. But let's talk about the Giants defense for a little bit. Their defense is 16th ranked overall, 330 yards a game, 23 points a game. But their offense is only averaging 12 points a game, which is kind of funny considering they have the same kind of weapons we do. They have everything you can imagine to throw at, but they're not putting points on the board, kind of like our offense is. And what a coincidence! We both don't have a running game. The only difference is we're not going to have a few of our star defensive players in, and they will. Janoris Jenkins is full participation on the injury report, but they have the sixth best passing defense with 181 yards a game. Dirk Cutter's going to have to think of something. He's going to have to pull all kinds of tricks out of the hat. Hopefully, Ali Marpet can have a better game. But I just do not want to come into October with a 1-3 record. I would much rather be 2-2. It just sounds so much better coming in. Let's just take a look at the schedule real quick after the Patriots. Yeah, so after the Giants, played Patriots obviously on a short week. And then we play Arizona, which is going to be a revenge game for us. But we'll have to see how our injuries, flake out, how our running game's working. And then we go play a feisty Bills team that a lot of people, including me, wrote off. But they're playing very, very hard for Sean McDermott. And, honestly, that could be a trap game for us. In my article I wrote on bucballpodcast.com, I wrote the make or break games of 2017, and the Bills were one of the teams that we should beat. All these other games that we've already played, is the only one that we should have won was the Bears, and the rest of them we're supposed to be competitive in. So, I don't know. But I think the key to this game, facing the Giants, the key is going to be using our tight ends. That's what I really think it's going to boil down to. Because once you open up the middle of the field, the out of the field gets open too. Winston's going to have to, if we get into a shootout, Winston's going to have to not want to play hero. He needs to let the game unfold how it's going to unfold. Just listen to the play call. Sometimes he wants to force a ball because he thinks he just has to make a play. He has to make a play. He has to be the person to put the team on his back. But we don't need him to be that. We have all these weapons for a reason. And as good as Cameron Brate is, as good as Cameron Brate is at getting open, OJ Howard, we brought him here to do the same thing. Now, O.J. Howard hasn't been used how I thought he was going to be used already. He's been used as more of a blocker. Seems like we do that all the time. As much as they like to say that our O-line is solid, we continuously have two tight end sets to aid with the blocking. And if you look around the league, a lot of the teams that don't have a solid two tight end set like we do, we actually have some weapons as our tight ends. Well, O.J. Howard's been used as pretty much just a blocker or a decoy, one or the other. I'm just hoping he gets more involved. And another thing I'm kind of worried about is our depth. I mean, like we said earlier, all these injuries, not to mention players are just getting up there in age, doesn't have anything to do with them being uninjured or not. It's just not having the ability anymore. We take a guy like Justin Evans, a safety in the second round, and then we already have Keith Tandy and Chris Conti. Then we had J.J. Wilcox, and then they go ahead and get T.J. Ward, and they let J.J. Wilcox go. It's like, wasn't there more players available in the second round? I don't know if the Bucs just thought, hey, we got the star player that we need in the first round. The second round, let's just take whoever. I don't know. I would like to think that it's not like that. It seems to me like there was a lot of good players still available. Especially Kareem Hunt. I wanted Kareem Hunt so bad. I love Doug Martin. I love Jacquizz Rodgers. But I watched so much tape of Kareem Hunt that it's one of the people that you pretty much like, okay, whether he's a bust or not, I'm going to follow this dude. Because I can just tell, I don't know anything about him. I'm not a professional scout. I don't pretend to be. But sometimes when you watch a player, you just know, and that's just all there is to it. Now, Kansas City might be using him to the best of his abilities. That may be true. But there's no denying that every time he makes a 50-yard run, I'm thinking, man, I would have loved to have had him. Now, O.J. Howard might end up being a Gronk type of tight end, a Hall of Fame tight end, all-pro tight end, to grow alongside with Jameis. But we're not seeing it right now. We're seeing Kareem Hunt explode right now. So I don't know who we would have took with our first-round pick. Maybe it could have been some defensive line depth. Maybe it could have been a defensive back, even though the defensive back class wasn't as strong. I would have loved Buda Baker. I would have loved to have Buda Baker in the middle of the field playing slot, or he could switch out to safety. Very instinctual player. Reminded me a lot of Rondé. But we're going to go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off. Forget about that crazy, ugly Vikings loss that's going to hurt for a while until we play our next game. And hopefully we can do something against the Giants. But I have a feeling that this is going to be a shootout. Not because we want it to be, because it's going to have to be. I don't think our defense, especially with Quan being out, Labonte being out, who knows if Grimes is back to full health. Noah Spence's shoulder he might be playing in a sling like he has been. Jacquizz Smith's going to be in. Chris Baker's in, obviously. But still, T.J. Ward is obviously going to be starting, but you still need him to get a chemistry down with his team. The Giants' defense is a lot more solid. They've already been with each other for a couple of years. They have some playmakers. So I'm going to go ahead and say that the Giants are going to put up points on us, and we're just going to have to keep up. All right, well, I'll see you guys Tuesday.